Hello students, welcome to class 8 English. Here we go with Prose 3 Jamaican Fragment, written by the author A.L. Hendricks. You all might have heard the name of the country Jamaica. Knowing about the author A.L. Hendricks, he is a prolific writer, a sharp writer, and some of his short stories appeared in the issues of the magazine Focus. He is a West Indian writer and his writings carry the flavor inherent in the Caribbean literature. Let's know a little about this country. Jamaica is an island country of the West Indies. It is the third largest island in the Caribbean Sea and its capital is Kingston. So in this story, the Jamaican Fragment, it brings out the prejudice that almost every person suffers from when it comes to the denominational issues like color, caste and class. See, there's a caste discrimination or the color discrimination which is found here in this country. And in this lesson, author says how this discrimination misleads the person's opinion. And this incident happened in author's life and which he has expressed in a very nice way. And the main characters that we come across in this chapter is one is author A.L. Hendricks. We have a small dark boy and a white man and a brown woman. Begin with the lesson. Students, you need to refer to page number 39 to 42 for the reading of the lesson. Here in this lesson, in the first paragraph, the author speaks about his morning walk. He says that morning walk is very pleasant. Every day, he used to walk half a mile from his home to the rail track lines in the morning and from the lines to his home in the evening. And the walk was very pleasant because he could see the view of the green roofed bungalows, green lawns and gardens on either sides. And author says that it is a good exercise for him too. And in this course of his walk, he had learned something from a little incident which he had seen or come across. During the course of his walk, author happens to experience an unexpected event. So the morning, about halfway between his front gate and rail track, he notices two boys playing in the garden of one of the modest cottages, one of the richest cottage, and the boys were playing. The two little boys, author guesses that one may be of 4 years old and the other 5. The bigger of the two boys was a sturdy youngster, means a strong youngster. He was very dark. How was his appearance? He was very dark with a mat of coarse hair on his head and his eyes were coal black. He was definitely a little Jamaican and a strong little Jamaican, says the author. The other little fellow was smaller but also sturdy. He was also strong. He was a white boy with hazel eyes like a deer and little brown hair. Both were dressed in the same color with blue shirts and khaki pants. They had no shoes on their feet. The feet was muddy. They were not conscious of the author standing them and watching them. They played on. The game, if it could be called a game, says the author, the little white boy walked majestically up and down and every now and then shouted in a commanding tone at his bigger playmate. So the white boy moves up and down and he is giving commanding instructions to the other playmate. And the little brown boy dragged on quietly behind him and did what he was told. And the other dark boy followed the instructions what was told by the white boy. The author is a little puzzled because he sees the white boy giving instructions to the dark boy saying that pick up that stick. The dark boy picked it up and he gives another instruction saying that jump into the flowers in the garden. They were playing in the garden. So the boy says you jump into the flowers and the dark boy jumped. And the next third instruction given by the white boy to the black boy or the dark boy was get me some water. And the dark boy ran inside the white and gets water to the white boy who was sitting down on the lawn. And then the author was amazed Here before his eyes, a white baby, for they were not little more than babies, a little small boys, was imposing his will upon a little black boy. This shows that the white people dominated the black people, and the little black boy submitted and he was following the instructions. Author was puzzled within himself as he went down the road. And there were several questions in the mind of the author, thinking that could it be that the little boy, a son of a house servant, the author asks to himself. He thinks that the dark boy may be the son of a house servant. No, they were obviously dressed in the same color, so they cannot be considered as a, a servant's child. And the dark boy was a neighbor's child. Even that question arose in the mind of the author. And I was sure of that. He thought he may be a neighbor of this white boy. Then how was it that he obeyed so faithfully the white boy's order? So there were many questions in the minds of the author. The author couldn't find answers for his questions. Author's thoughts revolved round the thinking that could he make difference between himself and white boy? Then he thought the white boy was bossing over the dark boy. Still the author was puzzled. Seeing the dark boy taking orders from the white boy, the author thought, were we as a race really inferior because the black people were treated as slaves? And there was one more question in the mind of the author. Were we so inferior that our children realized the deficiencies and accepted the position as the white man's servant? Was our thinking to such an extent that even the small children had realized that discrimination was shown by the white and the black child had accepted of being the white man's servant? After seeing for this, the whole day author was asking these questions to himself. Here on this paragraph, author says that there is a change of circumstances. Now, what he had seen the previous day was not appearing today for him. The next morning, the boys were there again, and a man was standing at the gate watching them. Now it was not only the children; there was a man standing and watching them. Author stopped on his way to the walk. He looked just to see what the white boy was making his little servant to do. But for his surprise, now it was not the white boy, it was the dark boy who was commanding, while the white little youngster did everything what the dark boy was asking him to do. The little dark boy was striding up and down, he was moving up and down the lawn while the white boy followed him. The instruction what the dark boy gives to the first boy was, the white boy, get me a banana. So the white boy runs inside the house and comes back shortly with a banana. The next instruction he says that peel it for me. And the little white boy peeled the banana and handed it to the dark master. Here the author could see the change of circumstances for what he had viewed in the first day and the second day. Observed the game, what the boys were playing. Now author understood that it was a game which even he had played as a child. When author was a child, he also used to play the same game. Each boy took in turn every alternate day to be the boss and other to be the slave. It had been great fun for author also as a youngster. He had a smile as he remembered his childhood days. He looked at the man standing at the gate. That man was a white man. He remembered what he had thought yesterday. He had no doubt thought to himself and was wondering if the black race is superior to the white. He laughed gently to himself and he says, author thinks that how silly we grown-ups are to misinterpret a child's action. Children are very innocent in their thinking. It is the grown-up who make these differences. So author realizes that we are never supposed to interpret the children's action. And author thinks that this man, I said to myself, will be worrying all day. Author thinks that the man standing and watching there may be thinking that the blacks in the end will rule over the whites. One day, the black people may overrule the white, and author thinks that he would clarify the doubts of that person and moves towards him. Author converses with that man, the white man who was standing and watching the game of the children. He goes to him and speaks. Author says to the man, not to have wrong notions, wrong thinking that the black will rule over the whites, because that man was also observing what the author had observed, that the black boy was commanding the white boy, the dark boy was giving commanding the white boy. So looking at that, there may be a thought, one day the dark people may overrule the white. And author says to the man that it was just a game the boys were playing. And he says how he had also got confused looking at it the previous day. Finally, author has a smile on his face. When the author started explaining to the white man about the game, the man says that he knows the boys were brothers and they are his sons. So the two boys who were playing in the garden were the sons of the white man who was standing and watching them. And he pointed to a fair brown woman on the veranda who had just come out to call in the children, saying that she is his wife. Arthur smiled. His spirit within him laughed. His heart uttered, "This is Jamaica. This is my country and my people." So Arthur realizes that people never change. Arthur looked at the white man and he smiles at the author too. Then the family hurried out, saying that if they hadn't reached, they would miss the train. So they move out from that place. So here it's a racial difference which is shown among the white and the black in the country Jamaica.